Hi everyone, I hope you're really well. I've gone a bit retro today. This is my old filming location, which is a bit echoey because it's in a window. I had to use this location because I'm really struggling to get good, decent daylight. And when I do foundation test videos, which is what I'm doing today, hence naked face, I like to use natural lighting because I think sometimes when you use artificial light, it can make you look like you've got better skin than you actually have. Today I am going to be testing another drugstore foundation, and it is this one from Revlon. It's their Colorstay for combination and oily skin, and I've got mine in the shade Buff, which is 150. I feel like there is a lot of love for this foundation generally within the beauty community. I have been wanting to try this because one of my favourite YouTubers who has skin very similar to mine swears by it. When she says something is good, then I hop straight on it. So before we get into putting any of this on my face, let's just quickly pop onto Revlon's website and have a read about this foundation and just see what it's going to do for my skin. So this is the official Revlon website, and this is the Colorstay makeup for combination and oily skin, and it promises to give you all day flawless matte coverage, which is exactly what I want really. I didn't realise it was actually America's #1 foundation, so that's interesting. It comes in 35 shades, although everything on this screen is kind of looking fairly similar really, not much at either end of the spectrum, and it's supposed to give you comfortable and lightweight coverage, which has been specifically designed for oily and combination skin. So that sounds really good to me. It's a bit easier to see some of the shades there. It just didn't look that great further up the page. And we have a lovely picture of Halle Berry modelling it too. Okay, so obviously it's saying it's for combination and oily skin, so it's specifically targeted for my skin type, and it's going to keep me nice and matte and shine free. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's have a little look at a swatch, shall we? All I've done is swatch this so far. It's quite thick. So that's what Buff looks like, which looks okay. If you are new to my foundation test videos, I try and keep things as simple as possible, so I don't throw the results too much. I don't use a primer or a setting powder. I've already moisturised my face with my old moisturiser that I used to use before I found an amazing one with primer in it, but I've resisted temptation to use that today because of the fact that it's got primer in it. The different application methods I will be using is I've got my beauty blender all ready to go and my trusty Zoeva 104. All that's left to do is zoom you in a little bit and we'll pop some on and see how it looks. Can see why I always used to film in here because the lighting is so much better. I'm just going to pop some of my hair out of the way. I'm always really excited to try new foundations because I do feel like this foundation gets a lot of love. I'm just going to start on this side of my face. It's really nice and creamy and thick. Beauty blender or brush? I'm feeling the brush, let's go with that. Does actually look a little pale in real life. It seems to be blending nicely. Okay, that's one quick layer on, and it does seem to have evened everything out really nicely. I could do with a bit more coverage down here, I think. Don't actually have a huge amount going on my face at the moment to cover up, so that makes a nice change. Not looking too bad. I'm not completely in love with the finish of it, but I'm going to do the other side with the beauty blender. Now, British summertime has ended. It's becoming quite the challenge to find a decent natural light to film in, and obviously there's no natural light at the end of the day for my final check-in, so I think whilst we're at this time of year I might have to come up with doing something a bit different. Okay, I definitely prefer how this is going on with the beauty blender. It wasn't bad going on with the brush side, but I just feel like this is going on a bit nicer. you can see that this side is a little bit more sheared out than that side, but that generally comes to be expected with the Beauty Blender. So I think I am going to go back to this side and build it up. It's still feeling a bit tacky, so I know it's not completely dried down, but it's just not giving me quite enough coverage, so I'm just going to pop a bit more on and hopefully I won't mess everything up. So I'm trying to build up coverage. I'm not going to buff this second layer into the skin. I'm just going to stipple it on instead, because I find that usually gives a bit of a better level of coverage. I'm having to work it into the skin quite a bit because it is sitting on the skin a little bit funny. I think that's that side done. Let's go back to the Beauty Blender side. I feel like I'm using quite a lot of this. I don't know whether it's just because I'm used to really high levels of coverage, just knocking everything out that bit easier. Okay, I think that's that side done now. I think the Beauty Blender side was that bit easier to blend. I think it's one of those foundations that does benefit from using a sponge. The brush side is okay, it just took a little bit more work on the brush side just to make it look a little bit more kind of natural. I don't think it does look particularly natural anyway. There everything is a little bit closer. See if you can see a difference between each side. Coverage wise it seems okay. I definitely need extra concealer under my eyes. I think what I'll do now is I'll quickly pop on the rest of my makeup and I will be back once it's dried down a little bit more and just let you know what I think so far. Okay, so there is my face all done. It's not still really dried down. It's feeling sticky and not very pleasant, to be honest. Because of that, it wasn't very easy to apply makeup on top. Everything was kind of sticking to it a little bit, like my blush and stuff, so I'm not overly loving the results of this so far. I'm hoping it's going to dry down a little bit more because it is feeling quite tacky and sticky and I do not like that. Usually I like to obliterate that with some kind of setting powder, but I'm going to resist because I don't want to skew the results. So far, not loving it. It's certainly not a matte finish. Maybe it just needs a little bit longer to dry down. Maybe I used too much, I don't know, but I felt like it just wasn't giving me the coverage that I needed with the amount that I had on. So I will check back in with you guys later on and I'll let you know how things are going. So I'll see you soon. Hi everyone, so I'm rapidly losing natural daylight, and because the sun has kind of come out, it's been pretty grotty all day. I thought I would just quickly film my final check-in now before it disappears for the day because it is on its way down. Let me just take my glasses off. I've been wearing this foundation for about 7.5 hours, so it's a pretty decent amount of time. That's a little bit under average for me, but I don't think things are going to change much from here on in. Let's zoom you in a little bit and let's just have a look, see what the situation is. So I'm going to get through this really quickly because the lighting seems to have gone fairly perfect for the moment. Mother Nature is challenging me right now and I was really hoping to do this with natural light as opposed to artificial, just so that you can really see how things are looking, because I think artificial light can mask things sometimes. I've just been looking really closely in the mirror and I don't think I'm too oily. I definitely look a bit shiny, but it's perfectly passable as kind of normal skin looking stuff. I've definitely worn worse in terms of how oily I have looked during the day. What I would say though is the earlier issues that I had with it not really drying down properly was quite annoying. I mean, even a good 20 minutes after I'd applied it, I still felt quite sticky, and it still feels sticky now actually, which is just not something I'm into. I don't think that feels very nice at all. It makes your skin feel uncomfortable and a bit choked, because it does actually feel like you've got a layer of something on your face. I don't know whether that's just me and my skin type or whether that's fairly typical. In terms of oil control, I'd say that it probably does, because I've not used any primer or setting powder, and normally after this length of time I'd be really shiny, but I think I have tried better things that look a little bit more natural and feel a bit nicer than this does. It has also sat in pores as well on my forehead, which does not look very attractive at all. And it also gathered, I don't know if I've got, no, I haven't got any sat in my glasses at all, but where my glasses sit, I had a load of foundation gather here. I've got a bit of dryness on my chin and it's really gathered there. But on the most part, it doesn't actually seem to have moved at all. You can still see that I've got good coverage. I don't love how it looks. I think that there are better looking things out there that are a bit more natural. The finish is a bit more comfortable to wear and they're a bit easier to work with. So I don't think I could really recommend this foundation, particularly for the type of market that it's appealing to. You know, people with oily skin who want a matte finish. If you're looking for something relatively affordable from the drugstore that gives you a matte finish that is good for oily skin, I hate to say it, well I don't, because it's a really good product, but I would definitely go for the L'Oreal Infallible Matte over and above this. I think it's a far superior foundation. It blends a lot nicer, it feels a lot more comfortable, and I just think this in comparison, I just don't really get what all of the hype was about, because I really don't rate it that highly at all. I mean, yes, it's not budged. I still have pretty good coverage, but it has gathered into pores and it just doesn't look great. I mean, whether I need to experiment with it a little bit more, maybe try different amounts, try my amazing primer and setting powder, because I think that will reduce the tackiness. But like I've said so many times, I really don't think you should have to work that hard when using a foundation. Okay, fair enough, it's from the drugstore and it's quite cheap, but then so is L'Oreal Infallible Mattes. That's really cheap and it's amazing. So it just goes to show it is possible to create a fantastic, affordable foundation for oily skin that doesn't feel choking and it really does keep you matte all day, but it just doesn't feel very nice. And I've kind of been feeling it on my face all day and it just doesn't feel very pleasant. Whereas when I use L'Oreal Infallible Matte, it just feels really lightweight and comfortable and gives me the really good coverage that I want, as well as a really nice matte finish, which just starts to look quite natural as the day goes on and your oils do start to come through a little bit, but it's barely noticeable. This just feels sticky and unpleasant. And I've been wanting to wash my face all day, if I'm honest, and I resisted temptation just purely because I really, really just wanted to get through this review and try and stick with it. So I will experiment with it a bit more, but it's going to be fairly reluctantly because I don't really like it, and I generally only experiment with foundations that I've kind of liked, but I've thought, I wonder if it'll benefit from XYZ. I think my next move will be to try it with my amazing moisturiser and primer and setting powder and just see how it looks then, and I will report back to you guys at some point in the future, probably in the next best and worst of beauty, I would have thought. But anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you found this review helpful. If you did, just give me a thumbs up down below, I would really appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye! When I got the body lotion of this from a Latest in Beauty box, and as soon as I smelt it, I was just like, oh, I need more of this scent in my life.